Well, that makes me think of studies on memory in the human body and how there. It seems to me like the direction of our understanding on memory is that it's not entirely local to the brain. This thought that memory maybe is not local to the brain, and now talking about memory in water, I'm almost wondering if potentially the structured water or the easy water in our bodies potentially is serving some form of propagating memory
I've been thinking
throughout.
the same thing as you've been thinking. Um, if the memory lies in the water rather than in the neuron or the neural network, the capacity is so much larger. And if you think about piano playing, you know, you play a trill, and it's impossible. You play a trill really rapidly. It's impossible for the information to come from your brain to your fingers that quickly. There must be something local. And when you think of something local, you think of water, and you think of this kind of information. It harks back to the work of Rupert Sheldrake. I'm not sure if you... Yeah, Rupert Sheldrake, if there's one dean of alternative science, it's Rupert Sheldrake. But he has a theory, it's called morphic resonance. And he says the brain is merely a transducer, that the information is somewhere out there. He doesn't know where, but somewhere out there. It could be, there's a lot of water out there. It could be in easy water, for example. It's not his idea, but I'm just suggesting one possibility for which I have no evidence whatsoever. It's just speculation. But that the brain is essentially a transducer. It's like a TV set. The information is not in the TV set. The information is electromagnetic. And the TV set is merely a transducer that allows you to capture the information.
Well, I've heard this. I've heard briefly this theory, and one of the, I guess the logic, excuse me, the logic behind it is that the human body is made up of a ton of different transducers, like sight, smell, touch. Like these are all transducers. Light, photosynthesis, for plants or for human body for vitamin D production, things like a lot of these are not. At least that was what I heard, at least for the logic behind potentially, our consciousness and our memory, and potentially that being more of a transducer than actually a local storage of the information.
Yeah, it makes sense if you begin thinking about it. Yeah, the brain is so limited in the amount of information it can store. If you accept the usual understanding of how the brain works, it just simply doesn't have the capacity to store all the information that we've got. Nobody really understands how all this works, but it's one of those frontier areas that needs to be studied. And the fact that water can store information is knowledge that is fundamental to figuring out how we think. I think of the brains, perhaps you've seen the evidence of people whose brains are, whose brain cavity is essentially empty. They've got like 10% of their brain and they function almost normally with 10% of their brain. There are various studies on that. It's astonishing, and it certainly provides a clue about, how information is stored and how it works in our body. So the brain may be important, but it's not perhaps all of the mechanism of information retention and understanding.
This is amazing. I want to share what this podcast is all about. You see, I'm on this journey to design the healthiest home in the world. That's why I sit down with brilliant minds across biology, medicine, design, and more, all with one goal in mind: a home tuned to human biology. This is where I brainstorm, where we explore what it really means to create a home that heals. If that sounds like something you care about, hit subscribe, and let's see where this goes.